Good evening, everyone. We'll start with some questions from Unit 1. I hope you can see the document, the questions on the screen, and I hope you can hear me. One of you can confirm, please.
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Right,
See the
thanks.
screen.
Thank you. So we'll now do questions. So can you tell me the answer to this first question? Each question, generally 1 minute, 75 seconds, something like that. Right, 2.5 questions for, 125 questions within 2.5 hours. It's not easy. 2.5 hours. So a minute or two per question. What is the answer to the first one? 40 seconds gone already. What is the purpose of having standards? Can one of you quickly put the answer on the chat box or provide me an answer? You can unmute your mic and tell what is the answer. Quickly. So Ashen, what do you think is the answer? So 3 out of this is the purpose of the standards. 3 out of these 4, 3 gives you the purpose of having standards. 1 does not. What do you think is the answer? Fairuz. All right. D. No. Now it's like this. If you look at the conduct, this is given in the code of ethics. Now in the old syllabus, you have separately the standards and the code of ethics. In the new standards, which was effective from 8th January, ethics are part of the standards, right? Ethics are parts. So according to the new syllabus, I think B is the answer. Yeah. Because the ethical conduct of internal auditor is governed by the code of ethics, not the standards. So standards provide you with a kind of a benchmark against which you can measure the performance of internal audit. You can do QARs against a standard. They give you the principles that represent the practice of internal audit. Internal auditing has so many principles. Standards provide guidelines, tell us what these principles are all about. And if you look at the IPPF frame, it has 8 or 10 principles, can you remember? That is also part of the mandatory elements of the standards, right? Then fostering improved organizational operations is also one of the reasons why you have standards, right? Yeah. Is one of the IIA. So if you look at your note, in the note somewhere, they have given you the slides, the purposes of the standards. And fostering improved organizational processes. I think it's about improving organizational processes, improving operations, mainly done through evaluating the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control processes. So can you see now the questions are, not that straightforward. So the purpose of going through all these questions is for you to get an idea as to how you will be tested. So that when you go through the note, you know where to look, where to study, what areas you need to be familiar with the syllabus. The proper organizational role of internal auditing. What is the proper organization? We won't be going through all the questions. Some are similar, so we will skip and try to cover this section. D. Yeah. So I think D looks good. It's coming from the position. It's an independent objective assurance and consulting activity. Can you see? According to the definition, the role of internal auditing is clearly defined. The role, responsibility, the purpose, the responsibility of internal auditing is clearly defined. The IPPF framework in the definition section. Serve as an investigating arm, but that is not the main role. But also they do. That is not the main. Perform studies to assist in the attainment of more operations. Yes, that also to some extent they have a role in improving. Can you give me a second? Give me a second. Yeah, so the answer there is, I mean, all these things serving as an investigative arm of the management or even the board, perform studies to assist in the attainment of more efficient operations, assist the external auditor, reduce the external audit fees is completely wrong. We don't do that. We, of course, check certain things as part of internal audit to see that we don't duplicate certain audit work. No, doubt. So we'll go to the next question. One of the purposes of this, can you look at this question, question number 3. Oh, sorry. I was talking and you were not. So here I was saying that there are 2 types of standards, performance standards and attribute standards. Performance standards start with the letter 2, number 2, attribute standards start with the number 1. Performance standards tell you how to plan and perform an audit. How to plan, perform, report, and all that. Attribute standards talk about the independence of the attributes that an internal auditor or internal audit function should possess. Which if they talk about the independence of the audit function, that's an attribute standard. If they talk about QAR, attribute standards. If they talk about the fact that the auditor should be objective, that's attribute standards. If they talk about situations where the auditor or the audit function's independence or objectivity is impaired, those are attributed performance standards. But implementation standards, another type, 3 types altogether. They expand upon attribute and performance, right? A major reason for establishing an internal audit activity is to do what? So as I said before, questions like this you have to answer. Maximum time you have for a question is about there are 125 questions, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, 60, 60, 120, 150. No? 1960, 2 hours is 120. 2.5 is 120, 150. So you have 150 minutes. Then you have 125 questions. So that means 1 minute, 20 seconds per question. So you have to save, right? Save on the time. Easy questions you must answer very, very quickly. B and D. So let's see now. What is the answer? It's D. Evaluate and improve the effectiveness of not only control processes, risk management processes, and governance processes also. Right? So these are also correct. Ensure the reliability, ensure. But that is, of course, a management responsibility. Ensure the reliability. We don't ensure. We can't ensure. We only evaluate. Ensuring that is a management function. Right? Safeguard resources, that is also a management task. Safeguard resources entrusted to the organizer. So we might check to see whether there are any there are proper controls to safeguard resources. Implementing such controls is also management. Safeguard resources is also management. We only assist the management in safeguarding resources. We assist the management in ensuring reliability and integrity. Relieve overburden management, that we can't do. No, that's a management thing. Right? That you have to understand. These sort of questions are showing where the internal audit is now carrying out a management function. Safeguard resources, that's a management function. Ensure reliability, that's a management function. We can provide assurance by evaluating the control surrounding the preparation of financial statements or management accounts. Different thing, but we don't ensure it. We provide the assurance. So small things we have to know. This is also another thing where they ask you the purpose of the adding value to the organization. That's very important. That's like always an overarching purpose. Our sole job is to add value. Can you remember? So it's about adding value to the organization. How we do that is by adopting a disciplined, systematic approach to evaluating the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control. Right? Can you see this? It's to add value and improve an organization's operations. So that seems to be the overarching aim of internal audit. Improve organization's operations. But of course, from a GRC perspective, even in the next question, I'm not going to go through, it says it to add value and improve an organization's operation. Now, all these also correct. To assist management with the design, I don't know. We are not supposed to assisting again. I don't know whether we are crossing. We are performing functions of design and implementation of risk management and control would impair the objectivity of auditors. So don't perform. Even helping in designing is wrong because it's still designing. Helping in implementation is also wrong. Can you see? Helping in implementation, helping in drafting, helping in designing is wrong. We can review, we can recommend. So you have to be a little careful when you're giving your answers. Selecting the category. All are correct. all seem to be correct. You are assisting in a way. Someone could say, indirectly you're assisting the management with and actually, in actual terms, before management implements, sometimes you might be told to just go through it and comment on the internal controls. But then again, you review and you recommend, and it's up to the management to implement and adopt it, in the design. So you must not design or do that, right? Small things that you need to pick up from these questions. Now check this out. Number 9. Can one of you all give me an answer? Put it in chat box quickly. What do you think? Let's see. I think, right? Eliminating risk, managing risk, controlling risk, all are management functions. Maybe we can evaluate. See, managing is definitely out. Eliminating, we don't eliminate risk. When we can recommend something and management may decide to avoid some activity which results in the risk. So see, we evaluate. If you look at these words of the definition, we evaluate and improve the effectiveness of GRs, governance processes, control processes. We evaluate, so be careful. But of course, in the same way, someone can say it's management's responsibility to identify risks, it's a management responsibility to evaluate the likelihood and probability. So that's another school of thought. But out of all this, one thing is we can evaluate. Right. This here. Mandatory guidance. What is mandatory? I think performance standards are mandatory, right? If you look at the mandatory elements of the IPPF framework, it's a definition, code of ethics, standards, and the principles. Right? So everything is there. Things called practice advisories. Practice says this, that, right? I think there is something called practice aids and development aids. That is not there. That is bogus. There's something called practice advisories. That is like guidelines, guidance, further guidance. The practice advisories are not mandatory. They provide, for example, if you're doing something in the retail industry, there might be a practice advisory for that. They are not mandatory, but they're strongly recommended guidance. Strongly recommended means not you should do it, but it's recommended. Now, this Sarbanes-Oxley Act is a very important act. It came about after this Enron fiasco in 2000, 2001. Came out at that time. So here, they say at least one member of the audit committee must be a financial expert. That is even in our Sri Lankan code. They have these requirements, right? So, this requirement came from the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Mr. Sarbanes and Mr. Oxley, two senators, I think, from the United States Congress. They got together and sponsored this. Due to all the governance failures at Enron, the chairman must be a financial expert, nothing like that. No, audit committee must. If you see the word must, that answer is wrong. That word is put generally to make it wrong. Not in all cases, but generally, if you see the one word all, must, never, that word is put in there to make that answer incorrect. The audit committee must rotate. There's nothing like that. No, audit committee members don't rotate. I think this is another one. The board of directors must be composed. Wrong. Can have a mix of executive, non-executive. Executive directors must be 1/3 of non-executive. That's in Sri Lanka. Majority of the non-executive should be independent. At least one member must be a former partner. Nothing like that. No, one member does not have to be a partner. Audit committee must be composed. Here again, must entirely of independent board members. No, generally majority should be board, but all should be non-executive directors, but majority of them should be independent. So it looks like this. Looks like that. Right? Yeah. Oh, sorry, C. Let's look at C. The audit committee must become entirely of independent director member. That is also wrong, no? I don't know why. Let's see. That's no, in Sri Lanka, it's wrong. Under SOX, each member of the audit committee. Okay, so under SOX in the United States, all members of the audit committee must be independent. Can you see? I mean, Sri Lanka, it is all members must be uh, non-executive, majority must be independent, and there's another requirement: the chairman has to be independent now. Earlier, chairman can be a non-independent, non-executive, but now the chairman has to be a non-executive plus independent, not non-independent. Question number 14. What do you think is the answer there? One wants to answer this. So assurance and consulting, no? But they are no in the definition itself. The definition it says internal audit is a independent objective assurance or consulting activity. The definition itself it says that independent of the assurance and consulting. So whatever you do as an internal audit could be assurance engagement or a consulting engagement. 15, just see whether you can answer 15. The answer there. I think it's D. Support from which persons is required for the success? C. I think I'm also leaning towards C because according to the definition, a dual reporting line, functionally you report to the audit committee slash board and administratively you report to the management. Why there is dual is because both you need the help of the board, you need to report to the board to maintain independence and you need to report to the management to get things done. Right? So let's just see COD. Yeah, yeah. Both is important. But in the question, it looks like you have to select one. Oh, sorry, it says persons. Can you see persons? Sometimes you might think audit committee, yes. So the audit committee can be here. Audit committee can be there. The audit committee and board can be used alternatively. Yeah. So use your head and answer. Down. Right. Now we move to the code of ethics. Code of ethics. Question number 19. Can you look at it? So you have 20 seconds to read the question, 10 seconds to read the question, 120 seconds to answer it. Easy questions, you must answer it in 20 seconds. Okay, to read extra fast. Code of ethics or behavioral standards. They are broad standards of conduct for the members of the organization. That seems correct. Seems correct. The organization details of the profession's governing body. Not really. Well, that's a little ambiguous. That answer confusing. A list of illegal activities, not really. You might have a list of unethical behavior stated as examples in the code of ethics. The members of the profession. Yeah. Yeah. The basis for the measurement of internal performance. That is the standards, no? So A, can you see? Can you read A? Can you read the answer, please? So code of ethics is not only communicating the value system to members within the organization, but also to members outside the organization, like suppliers, regulators, third parties, anyone. Huh? Go down. Okay. Question number 21. What is the answer here? A. Is it? Why are you getting them to review an acknowledgement? Why is that important? Because in the question itself, it says employees, their code of ethics audit was done, and it revealed that employees were knowledgeable of its provisions. They are knowledgeable. They know what it is. They have read it. So if they have read it, I don't know whether you need to get it acknowledged. Of course, you need to have some sort of acknowledgement when they join the company that they have read it, understood it, and they and all that. But wouldn't you say that some employees still do not comply? They do not comply. Don't you think that they have to look at the disciplinary action, provisions for this? So in the code of ethics, there are provisions for disciplinary actions. That has to be enforced. You can have a code of ethics, but if when there are violations, if there's no enforcement, then that is going to be a problem. So I think code of ethics should have provisions for disciplinary action. I think that could, yeah, that is the answer. Mhm. Penalties. Go through question number 22. Now we are in the section of code of ethics section. Huh? Here they say except. Can you see except? That means three are right, one is wrong. So just read. Then you don't need to read the question. If there is except, that means three are right, one is wrong. So effectively communicate acceptable values to members, yes. Communicate values to outsiders, yes. Seems correct. Reflect only legal standards. Here, can you see the word only? That's another word. Must, always, all, only. When you see that word, that stem is wrong. Provide a method of policing and disciplining members, yes. There are penal provisions. Can you see that? Only. Can you see the word only? Then take it out. then that will be the wrong one. Huh? Let's go down. This is also important. We'll take it down. Wait, hold on. Look at this question. Of course, now you know the answer, but read this question. I'm only going through some questions. There are 66 pages here. This document will not be shared with you all due to certain reasons. But of course, most of these questions are uploaded to the database to which you will get access, which you can access remotely and access some of these questions. Can you read this question? So again, three are right, one is wrong. Independence from conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest can be professional or it can be economic. So A, B, C are correct if you look at it. We must be independent. Code of ethics tells us to be independent from conflicts of interest, of professional nature or economic nature. Integrity and a refusal to compromise professional values, that is also a requirement. Subjectivity, no, we must be objective. Or subjectivity is not something that is encouraged. When we auditors, we must always be objective. Objective means it can vary from person to person. We must always be as objective as possible. So we need, that's why they say in a code of ethics also, code of ethics also, I think objectivity is a principle, if I'm not mistaken. Objectivity, integrity, confidentiality, and competence. In the new auditing standards, I developed a manual for a company on this new auditing standards a few weeks back. There is another thing called professional behavior. They have included 5 principles to the code of ethics. So there are small changes like that. And if you don't get through these exams or part 1 at least by before 1st May, you have to just take one of those mapping documents and just go through it. We'll have a few classes required. There's some sort of interest. Just to tell you these new things that have come about. But 70%, 60 to 70% are the same. It's only in the presentation they've made it more, have improved the lucidity or the clarity. It made it more user friendly, you know. Can you look at question number 24? The profession objectivity, always look for the word conflict of interest. Look for the word unbiased. Free from, unbiased. You are not influenced by anyone else. You are unbiased. There is no favoritism. You avoid conflicts of interest. That is, if you go through your note, objectivity, those are the keywords to remember. Unbiased, avoiding conflicts of interest, not being influenced by others, planning, scoping, carrying out and reporting during an internal audit. Yeah. Code of ethics describes the behavior norms expected of internal auditors. You see that. All right, so let's go down. If you get a question like this, think twice. Don't waste 5 to 6 minutes on a question like this. Just you're at the tail end, quickly answer this question and move. Put a guess, 25% you'll get it right. That is if you are tight for time, don't waste time. Sometimes what I do is I just read the answers and see which is the odd one. But when you have a stem like none of the answers represent a violation of the code, then it's an issue. Right. So can you read this? We have to get used to questions like this also, which are a little copious. That is a lot of words. So take 2 minutes and read this. Yeah. So here it says A is incorrect. I was saying it's A. Anyway, let's read it. An intern loiter recently terminated by an organization. You lose your job when you are joining a competitor. You're working for SLT, then you move to dialogue. So which answer violates would constitute a violation? The internal auditor used the risk assessment approach that was used by the internal auditor's former employer in determining priorities in the new job. Internal auditor, so you have to select the best answer. Yeah? Remember that best. So it seems using the used risk assessment approach used by the former employee. Risk assessment approach, of course, if the approach is based on ISO 31000 or COSO, it's not a copyright violation. Most of these organizations have an approach. Let's see. The new internal audit activity does not use PPS sampling. And the internal auditor believes PPS sampling has advantages for many of the engagements conducted by the new employer. The internal auditor conducts training sessions. So those are okay, and develop forms to implement sampling in the same manner. Yeah, so he's training and trying to introduce something. This happens, And see, while at the previous firm, the best internal auditor conducted a great deal of research to identify best practices for the management of the treasury function. Because most of the research is done at home. Internal auditor retained much of the research and plans to use it to conduct. He plans to use it in conducting a review of the treasury by the new employer. So, which one constitutes a violation? So it's either none, all are okay. The question is, are all okay? B, I think, seems okay. It's using PPS, it's a software, but it's a very common one. So B is okay. B seems okay, right? But if B is okay, then that makes D also wrong. If you think like that, all can be wrong. No? But B is not a violation, no, is it? B a violation. A, C or D? Let's see, none of them. So you're saying none of these are violations. Okay, so the research also done, most of the research is done at home and during non-office hours. They did much of the research and plans and conducting a review of the treasury function and using conducting a review of the treasury function. Yeah, so we are using your knowledge, Hmm. Let's look at the answer. Yeah. D. The former employees risk assessment may be viewed as general information. Can you see? General information about best practices. Hence, A is okay, using the risk approach. Yeah. Correct. Then internal audit is applying knowledge of a commonly used engagement procedure, PPS sampling. That is also okay. It is not confidential information. Gathering information about best practices of other organizations, part of the continuing education. Thus, the listed responses are not violations. Correct. The research, as one of the students also is saying, is it's on best practices. These are also publicly available. Let's go back. So there are questions like this, right? Research was done at home means it's a desk research, no? Maybe on the internet or something, but of course you can sell surveys and questionnaires to staff, right? So the basic point here is that all these are okay to do, right? Now this also you have to go through 29. You go through 29. Oh, thanks. Sorry. So here, what you have to remember is that, let me repeat, is that you have to think of the word always. Always you can't go to a lawyer. Here, can you say it is not practical to seek advice of lawyers for all ethical dilemmas. Go to a lawyer when something illegal may have happened. Everything unethical is not illegal. You can't always go to the audit committee. That is not practical. But you can always take action consistent with the principles. What are the principles? Integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, and competence. If the organization that's what you have to remember. The code of ethics supersedes. If the IIA's code of ethics is applicable, it supersedes your company's code of ethics. Can you look at question number 30? An internal working for a chemical manufacturer, the toxic waste is dumped. Right? Now, dumping toxic waste is an environmental issue now. We're violating environmental laws. Out of loyalty, no information regarding this collected. So clearly he has violated. You can't say C and D is wrong. You can't say he clearly violated the code of ethics because he must report on it. You can't hide. You can't hide it. Yeah, answer is A. Becoming a party to an illegal act. Yes, you have to escalate it. Can you see this here? You look at the principle of integrity in your handout. Under that, there are certain rules of conduct. So there it says, prohibits knowingly being a party to any illegal activity. You must abide with all the laws, regulations. By failing to collect information about a known violation, he is becoming party, aiding and abetting. Question number 33. By now, you should have the answer. Knowledge, skills, and competency. This is wrong, B, because it talks about sobriety. And honesty, diligence. Diligence, we did clearly pick that up. No? Responsibility. Punctuality, we don't talk about punctuality. So D is wrong because of the word punctuality. B is wrong because of the word sobriety. That is drunkard, drinking. So it could be A or C. Which is it? A or C? C. Yes. I'm leaning more towards C. A. Under integrity principle, India shall perform their work with honesty, diligence, and responsibility. It would have been nice in this question if they had mentioned under, let's include that, under the integrity principle, in the code, the integrity principle in the code of ethics requires internal auditors perform their work, then A is correct. Now let's go to C. Knowledge, skills, and competencies are mentioned in the standards, apparently. Okay. Yeah. Knowledge, skills, and competencies are mentioned in the standards. Okay. Writers must be proficient. They must be competent. There is a competency principle also in the code of ethics. Interesting to see what comes under competency. Must be knowledge, skills, and experience. No, knowledge, skills, and experience. Yeah. Right. Let's go down. So there are questions like that. Don't get upset. I mean, 60% of the questions you see you wouldn't have seen before, you know. Integrity is honesty, yes. Abiding, complying with laws, not breaking the law. Correct. Yeah. Well, they have the word diligence, no? I mean, yeah. Anyway, just go through that code of ethics, will you? You just give me a second. Implementation guidance, supplemental guide is all recommended. They are not mandatory. Can you see this communicating values to members within the organization, outside the organization, that one? Integrity, a refusal to another facet of integrity in accordance with the relevant law. Okay, let's put down. Let's go. Four principles. Competency, integrity, the first one. Shall perform their work with honesty, diligence, and responsibility. Observe the law, not knowingly be party to any legal activity. Respect and contribute towards the legitimate and ethical objectives of the organization, not unethical and illegitimate. Now let's go to competency. Shall engage for which they have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience. Right. And performing the audit according to standards. That's competence. If you do not follow the standards, you're incompetent. So it says. Now you know in the note where to look, right? That's the purpose of not doing these questions. If you just study it, sometimes you will not understand. Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, is diligence given as a part of code of conduct? Because
Yeah, the code of conduct has that word, no? Now I'm going back again. I'm looking at it, but you can't see it. In that, it says here integrity. Under integrity principle, rules of conduct, the first one is shall perform their work with honesty, diligence, and responsibility. Diligence
I was
means
looking at the main ones. Okay, right.
diligence means you have to do it carefully and you have to be accountable for what you do. Take
Yes.
responsibility. Okay. Let me minimize it. I hope you can see the questions. Question number 35. Question 35. Which of the following statements is not appropriate to include the manufacturer's conflict of interest policy? An employee shall not D. Use organization. Yeah. So use all for private purposes. Which of the following? An employee shall not use Organizational information for private purposes should be there. No? An employee shall not borrow from or lend money to vendors. A. Accept money gifts from a customer, shall not accept money. Participate in the management of a public agency. What is B? What is not a, so is it shall not accept money gifts or services from a customer, shall not borrow money from lender, shall not use information. So A, B, A, C, and D seem correct to me. Yeah, so B is the answer. A prohibition on public service is ordinarily inappropriate. Yeah, public services. Sometimes you do some lecturing or you're attached to some social NGO. Public, no. You do some, part-time volunteering work. Those are acceptable. You can't prohibit. But there are organizations that prohibit that also. Right. Question number 38. So looks like C, no? Yeah, C. The objectivity principle says must disclose all material facts known to them that if not disclosed may distort the reporting of activities under review. Yeah, so it looks like C. Question number 40. Take your time and read this. An internal auditor for a large bank serve on the board of directors of a local bank. The bank competes in many of the same markets. In accepting the internal auditor violates ethics by serving on the board may be in conflict with the basis of the internal auditor's employee. Yes. So one seems correct. So because information gained by serving on the board of the may influence recommended regarding potential acquisitions. Two. It looks like 1 and 2. No? So let's see. Yeah. So just check that, please. Because he's an internal auditor, he's privy to a lot of information. That's the problem. Which of the following concurrent occupations could appear to subvert the ethical behavior of an internal auditor? B. What does it say? Which of the following concurrent occupations could appear to somebody? Internal audit and a well-known charitable organized local in-house chairperson. So it's okay. I'm an internal audit. I become the chairperson of some charity. Looks like it seems okay. Internal audit and part-time business insurance broker. Now that might be conflicting if the internal audit is working in a company related to insurance. Right. Internal audit adjunct faculty member. That's okay. And I do a little part-time lecturing here and there. That seems okay. Internal audit and landlord, so I can have several houses and and I advertise them and get that is okay. So it looks like it. Yeah, a previous question doesn't talk about confidential information again. Yeah, true. But generally what they are relating sensitive information. Now, obviously sensitive information can be confidential, generally is. Okay. Question number 42. A. Let's see. An internal auditor discovered some material inefficiencies. Purchasing function. Purchasing manager is the internal auditor's neighbor and best friend. There's a small issue there, a conflict of interest. The internal auditors, whatever the internal auditor should objectively include the facts of the case in the engagement communications. That seems correct. Not report the incident, that's bad. Include the facts of the case in a special communication submitted only to the friend, that's bad. Not report the friend. Unless, no. So it's not objectively include the facts. That's the answer. A. A is the answer. You have to be objective. Ideally, he should have recused himself from the audit. There might not be a real conflict of interest. Perception matters sometimes over real or real conflicts of interest. The internal auditors should be prudent in their relationships with persons and organizations externally. Yeah. Which of the following activities will most likely not adversely affect the internal auditor's ethical, will not affect accepting compensation from professional organizations or consulting. If serving as consultants to competitor organizations will affect. No? If I'm working for one hotel, I can't be a consultant to another hotel. Serving as consultant suppliers also results in an ethical issue, conflict. Discussing engagement plans with external parties. Discussing engagement plans or results with external parties. Why are you discussing with external? Because there may be situations where you have to discuss with the regulator, perhaps. Let's look at so B and C are correctly wrong. Accepting compensation for consulting, yeah, better not. If you're working, having another paid job might be an issue. All wrong.
Isn't D like discussing engagement plans with the relevant external parties? That's what I understood.
D.
Yeah, D as in if they are like discussing the engagement plans with the relevant external parties, not like a different parties. So that's what I
Yeah.
understood from.
That if it's relevant, I mean, you can discuss your plans with an external auditor. External auditor is also external party, no?
Yeah, because all A, B, C are anyway incorrect. So D is the only possible answer.
Yeah. Let's go down. Hey, look at this. So they are saying don't discuss engagement results with external parties. You have an audit report, you do an audit of the procurement function at a company, don't discuss that with them. But of course, as you said, there may be situations under certain circumstances you have to disclose. It could be maybe due to this. In Sri Lanka, there is a law called the NOCLAR, NOCLAR. Any report it to the management first, then the director. If nothing happens, you have to report it to the regulator. That happens. Accepting compensation. So what they're saying is BCDR should is okay. Should not be done. No, BCD should not be done. Don't discuss with external parties. So that is the thinking of the examiner. P and C are clear. So accepting compensation for professional or consulting works, they are saying is okay. No, it's okay. Consulting fees are not likely to impair the internal professional judgment. So I do some, but of course there are some organizations where they very clearly say you can't be, paid, can't undertake paid work in any entity. Anyway, food for thought. 45. Question number 45. Yeah, correct. External parties not specified. So there are questions like this where the examiner also is not, the question is also not very clear. But then just select the best answer in the given context. There will be a few questions like this also. And they also put a few sample questions which will not be marked just to test them out to see whether to bring them into the database. So out of 125 questions, there might be 3 or 4 which they are like sample questions. No mark, but they will anyway get you to answer it. Of course, it will not affect your score. Question number 45. B. Yeah. You can't prepare the tax return of one of your another department that you're auditing. You'll see auditing procurement and procurement managers tax return. If you do, then there's a conflict of it. Other things, having a seminar, helping out with some the tax returns of a few elderly citizens, publishing a book, those are not conflicting. Can you see? Shall not accept that may impair or presume to impair their professional judgment. Internal auditors shall not accept anything that may impair or presume to impair their professional judgment. Question number 46. B. Yeah, so accept it is wrong, regardless of the value. You can accept it if it's minimal. You not accept it, regardless of other circumstances, because its value not accept it because the value is significant. The value is not significant, This the value is moderate. So C and D look as if it's not correct. Not accept prior to submission. No. Prior to submission of the final report, after submission, after 6 months, after issuing the report, still you shouldn't accept. Okay, next year you will have to do another audit. Not accept if it's presumed to impair the internal judgment. So I think B looks like to me, yeah, B. That may impair or presume to impair, that is perception. Right? Yeah, go through this question. Okay. Question number 48. Take your time. What is this? What's the answer? It's actually, I think it's B. when you find in an organization someone who has financial difficulties, someone who is gambling and needs money, or is drinking and needs money, or goes to the casino needs money, they are pressurized. They have financial pressures. So it's people like that who are generally more prone to commit frauds. So this is a red flag. Finding someone. So when there's a red flag, that's called a fraud indicator. So he must follow up and see, for example, if a cashier comes and says he's a gambler, you have to see, where is he getting the money from? Perhaps I need, maybe from the company, maybe stealing. So perhaps you have to carry out more audit procedures or increase your sample size. So I think B looks like they are. Oh no, it's C. Are not in violation. I don't know where it is. See, there's no violation. The teacher did not withdraw the property and followed up upon learning of the information. Yeah. So in my opinion, the gambling issue is not directly related to the engagement, and the employee is under pressure to complete quickly, right? He informs the chief audit executive. So ideally, what should happen? Yeah, so he may have actually not violated the code of ethics. I don't think he violated the standards in that. Oh, did he? Then now, according to Sri Lanka auditing standards, if there are fraud indicators, you have to respond to that. Responding to a fraud indicator means that you can't just look the other way. You have to see whether there are any more signs. If they are there, then there is no issue. So correct. Maybe as you say, he informed the CIA about it, but here it says, but there's no further follow-up. That is what is confusing here. He does not follow up. What is follow-up in a sense? Follow up with the CIA head of audit, or follow up maybe in his audit procedures and sampling? Does he need to do something extra?
Shouldn't he get the direction from the management or like the chief internal auditor to do the follow-up since he has already communicated, informed the issue?
Yeah.
It's a matter of not following up. So even the management has not taken any action.
Yeah. So if there's a gambler in the organization, more than telling the management there is a person who is gambling, or is a gambling issue and is in financial difficulties, I think more than informing the management, it is up to the auditor to see, since it's a fraud indicator, to see whether he needs to do something extra in terms of, in terms of the audit, to see whether there is actually an issue here. Because it's in fraud literature, the person having a gambling issue in the fraud triangle is a pressure. We have three stems now, three corners, the pressure or motivation to commit a fraud. Then you had justification or rationalization, and the third one was opportunity to commit a fraud. Justification, opportunity, and pressure need to be there, all three, to commit a fraud. So opportunity is there. We don't know if the marketing officer is collecting money, cash or something like that. The opportunity is there. He has access. Pressure is there because he has a gambling issue. So he's always short of funds, maybe in financial. The other thing is rationalization. Anyway, the examiner who has thought of these questions feels that there is no violation to the code of ethics or standards. But what confuses me a little bit, I also feel there may not be a violation. But it's interesting to see the IIA standards also says auditor should have knowledge of fraud indicators, and I don't know whether according to the check up on that fraud officer. So in the fraud risk and control presentation, um, I'm just going through that, you can't see it. Mm, mm. Internal auditors, the standard says this: internal auditors must have sufficient knowledge to evaluate the risk of fraud. It needs to do a proper fraud risk assessment, but are not expected to have the expertise of a forensic auditor, right? So that is one. Second one is, internal auditors must exercise due professional care by, among other things, considering probability of significant errors, fraud, and non-compliance. So we have to, when we are doing an audit, we must always consider exercise due care. Exercising due care means you have to be very careful. You have to see whether is there a possibility of fraud occurring in this process. Then there's another one. Internal auditors therefore must consider the probability of fraud when developing the engagement objectives. Let's consider the probability of fraud. The internal audit activity must evaluate the potential for the occurrence of fraud and how the organization manages fraud risk. That is the slide that I read out to you now. Must evaluate the potential for the occurrence of fraud and how the organization manages fraud risk. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. Now, here, of course, the IEI, the internal audit standards, there is no specific reference that uh, an auditor needs to kind of take action when a fraud indicator is detected. But I will share something else with you, right? In Sri Lanka, you have a auditing standard. The name of that auditing standard, which I usually do for the local students. Just give me a second. Because I'm just telling you because it's interesting to note. Don't worry, you won't be interested in it. In Sri Lanka, there is a auditing standard called SLAUS 340. SLAUS 240. Right? In that standard that deals with when external auditor does a external audit, he must consider the probability of fraud in the financial statements. Some frauds may result in a material misstatement in the financial statements. So, external auditor says to in the report, these financial statements are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error, right? External auditor goes on to say that. So, if there is a fraud in an organization and that fraud has resulted, sometimes there may be no impact on the financials, but if it has resulted in a material misstatement, ideally the external auditor should catch it. Can you see the auditor's responsibility related to fraud? So in Sri Lanka, right, so the global standard is like this. You go down here to respond appropriately to fraud or suspected fraud. Can you see? So here, what they say is if you detect a fraud indicator, or if you suspect fraud, of course, just seeing a fraud indicator does not mean that you suspect fraud. Just because there's a fraud indicator, you must be a little more vigilant and you have to exercise greater professional skepticism. So I think, as you said, it's correct. I think there is no direct contravention or direct breach of the code of ethics or standards because he has communicated it to the head of audit, and it is, I suppose, incumbent on the head of audit to provide instructions to him as to what needs to be done. So with that, I think that internal audit is okay. But it's a passes information on to the chief audit executive, but does to no further follow. So I suppose he has done his part as a junior auditor, and it's up to the CIA, chief internal auditor, the head of the department, now to come and say, okay, do this, do that, do this. So in that sense, directly, I suppose he has not violated the code of ethics or standards. So I suppose that is the thinking, right? There is no violation here. The interrogator did not withhold information and properly followed up upon learning of the information. Right? Only thing is he said it to the CIA, but again he did go and see what should I do. I suppose he doesn't need to do that. Head of audit can provide any feedback or whatever instructions. without it. Now look at question number 49. Be a bit careful. What is the answer? Do you straight away go to the regulatory authority and tell? I suppose that's not the first thing to do. Do you refrain because the organization has done something bad by paying bribes? Do you think you should not report it or take? No, that is also wrong. So A and B look wrong to me, incorrect. Inform appropriate organizational officials, could be the directors or the CEO. That seems okay, right? So obviously, in most of these questions, there are two answers which are correct. Two. Report the practice to the board of IIA. Should you do that? I suppose the first thing is to take internal action, no, first. Then there is further violations, only you can. But the sales department people are the ones that that violated and broke the law. If someone in the internal audit department broke the law or did something unethical, then you can report it to the Institute of Internal Auditors and say one of your members or one of your CIAs have carried out some unethical acts. That you can say. But here we are talking about salespeople. No? They may not come under the purview of that. Right. It looks like, let's go down. Yeah, see. What is the act? That is called there's act for this, no? You must know the name of the act, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. There is an amendment to that act also, which I told you. They will test you now on that step. Question number 51. And you will slowly go through this. Oh. Say nothing is out. Now discuss the issue with management and take appropriate action to ensure that the external auditors are informed. Inform the external auditors now. That's not your job. If they come to talk to you, communicate the shortages to the board and allow them to communicate to the external auditor. I think if there's a shortage, discuss it with the management and then take appropriate action to ensure that the external auditors are informed. So what is the answer you have given now? B. Okay. Yeah. Yes, another question. Right. Session is not over. Sorry. 52, what is the answer? 52. What is the answer?
A.
B. A. Hmm. Inform the external auditors, report the misstatement to the management. When the exclude, so let's go down. A, yeah. If there's a mistake, inform them. Shall disclose all material facts known to them, if not disclosed. So CA should share information and coordinate activities with the external auditor. Yeah? That is important. But generally what happens is internal auditors don't go and directly talk to the external auditors. A meeting is facilitated. First step would be to inform the management. And if there is a shortage or misstatement, we must get the management to adjust the accounts. Right? If the accounts are adjusted, then there's no problem. There won't be a qualification. But if the management decides not to adjust for that material misstatement, then of course the auditor, I suppose, has a duty to inform the audit committee that this material misstatement has not been adjusted. And if the management does not do anything, then you have to tell the audit committee. If the audit committee also does not do anything, I suppose the internal auditor will have to tell the external auditor. So that is the general chronology or the steps that you have to take.
Can you
So
can you
is
put the question 51 again?
Yeah.
Can you just show the 51?
the answer B wrong for 52 because
What's the answer of that question? So here again, you have to look at the sequence of events. If an internal audit is done in, let's say, the year end is March, internal audit is done in January and they find a shortage, then obviously the internal auditor will inform the audit committee management and the accounts will have to be, the general ledger will have to be updated. Could be a write-off or whatever, right? And then it's corrected. Then when the external auditors come and do the audit, it's already corrected. But I don't know at which point now this looks like as if, a set of accounts has been given to the external auditor for auditing purposes. And then maybe they have come to know that there is a material shortage before March and or that adjustment has not been made. Then of course there is a duty for the internal auditor to inform the external auditors. So as I said, it's a sequence that you have to think about. You don't straight away go with some complaint or whatever or some material mistake to the external auditors direct, but the external auditors will also talk to the internal auditor at some point. In those discussions, you can say that there was a material shortage. Let's just see whether it has been adjusted. That insight, that information can be given. But I don't know, it looks as though the external auditor even may have issued the independent auditor's report. I don't know whether it's that they have finished the audit and issued the report also, or it could be well before doing the audit and issuing the report, this issue is there which needs to be communicated, and still the accounts may have been given to the auditor, external auditor for audit purposes, or it could be before. So it's not very clear. But either way, you must discuss with management and ensure that the external auditors are informed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now here again, if you look at D, communicate it to the board, first to the management, then to the, so let's look at the answers. Information should be shared and activities coordinated. Yeah, so this question is also not very clear. They are just harping on this fact that the internal auditor should coordinate with the external auditor, and then because of that, he has to keep him informed. Right. 52 also, I think we did that, no? 53. Did we do 53? I don't think so. What is the answer here? Is it D? There seems to be some unlawful activity, but there is no evidence. So internal auditor keeps quiet, but he says if I'm asked later, I will answer truthfully. Because of which? What do you think? B. It is B. Has not violated the code of conduct because the internal is committed to answering all questions. No, I don't think B is the answer. Anyway, let's see. I could be wrong. What do you think? Can we have another answer? Asanta, what do you think? C.
C.
C. Unlawful acts should have been reported. So whether it's an unlawful act or not, it's not confirmed, no? There's an indication of an unlawful act. But is there an unlawful act? And then is it a little premature? There's indicating unlawful activity, indicating, but not confirmed yet. Right? So here on the C, it's like you're trying to say that there is unlawful act despite the fact that you have no evidence. And you run to the CC or wherever and complain. I think that C is a little premature to me. Let's go down. So the answer is D. Yeah. The interlocutor should inform the appropriate in the organization if there are indicators. To act even though available facts do not prove that irregularity has occurred. Moreover, rules interlocutor should disclose all material facts known to them. Yeah. The possibility of unlawful activity should be reported. Can you see the possibility? So the lesson here is that if there is an indication, even if you have no proof, right? Sometimes for every crime there is no proof, no? It's very difficult. Yes. But if there's an indication, you're expected to dig a little deeper and see, right? Right? And then decide. So these are very tricky questions, huh? Very tricky. Let's skip this one. I think we all are now immersed in wanting ethics, code of ethics. Which of the following actions could be construed as a violation of the code of ethics? Failing to report to management that would be material to management's judgment. Yeah. No? Expressing an opinion or internal, you can give an opinion. That's okay. Internal audits are sometimes assurance engagements. In assurance engagements, you give an opinion or conclusion. Assurance by its definition means there has to be a conclusion or an opinion. Right? Turning a case over to the security department when auditor suspects fraud but has no proof that you can't do. No? Can't tell another department. You suspect something, you must go to the management and say there is something like this. These are the indicators of fraud. Why you think it's an indicator of fraud, and this is what you have seen so far. And so that the management can, if at all, launch a preliminary inquiry or investigation, they can decide. But you have to communicate. 57. Report it, no? You report it to individuals within the organization. First step is the management. If they don't take proper action, then you are expected to go to the board or audit committee. If the board also doesn't take proper action, you're expected to go to the regulator. Go down. Too many questions, no, on ethics. B. B. Answer is C. You can't accept moderate gifts. You can accept only nominal value, gifts of nominal value.
Is answer B correct? Because having material ownership interest in a competitor.
Now you're internal auditor of a company. Let's say you're internal auditor, no? Assuming you're an internal auditor of SLT. You have shares in Dialogue. Material amount. So is there a violation of the code of ethics? What are you violating?
Okay, understood.
Which principle? If you
No,
disclose, if you find out something about, if you're at SLT and you have a material interest in Dialogue, as an internal auditor of SLT, you get some information which you pass on to Dialogue, yes, then you should. And then
yeah.
says a material, no? Material shareholder. Obviously, SLT should not hire you as an internal auditor if they know that you have a material stake. What they are saying here is the examiner thinks that it's a cause of conflict for the director, not an internal auditor. But the internal auditor is a fairly senior person. So, and the answer they say, so this is not a perfect answer, you know. So the questions like this, don't worry. I don't think we'll get like this. These are confusing. Let's go down to another section. This one should be very straightforward. No? Can you go through this question? It looks like B, no? Is it? Yeah. It's B. Your judgment can be impaired. Question number 71. We will stop with that today. Can you read this question number 71? What is the answer for this? B. Our chief learned that the staff provided confidential information to a relative. Both the CIAs benefit from that. The relative use the information to make a significant profit. The most appropriate way, verbally reprimand the auditor. Summarily discharge the internal auditor and notify the IIA. My God. Very harsh. Summarily discharge. Take no action because the internal auditor did not benefit from the time. The C is out. Inform the IIA board and take the personal action required by the organization policy. So D seems not right. So it's A or B. Oh, wow. Look at this. The internal audit has violated, the IIA should be notified. 71. Hold on. May not be in account the company behavior. Somebody discharge means before you discharge, the head of audit discharges, there has to be a disciplinary process, a small inquiry has to be held. That's why B is wrong. What they're saying is there has to be a process that you follow if there is an accusation. The head can't decide to terminate. Then a complaint has to be made, inquiry has to be held, investigation has to be done, a charge sheet has to be issued, and then you take disciplinary action that could result in a discharge. But then there are certain behaviors where you can discharge, but I don't think the CA can do that. CA can't do it on his own. That's why B is wrong. Verbally reprimand the internal auditor seems to take no action, inform the IIA's board of directors and take the personal action. So what they're saying is inform the IIA, it's a ethics committee, and then take personal action, tell the HR department. Yeah, so I suppose. I suppose there will be a verbal reprimand also. So B and C are out. Verbal reprimand is also not, might be, it's a first case, but of course the severity of the action of sharing information is wrong. The verbal reprimand itself, but inform the IIA's board of directors and take personal action. My God. All right, so with that we'll conclude for today. Next week also we'll have a questions class. Do you all have any questions? Vasanta, you have said the answer is A. I was also A. Yeah, D also. It's committee now. Right. All right. See you next week.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ashin. Good night.
Thank you.